and we have Ms. Hammond is present, Ms. Gardner is present, and myself. And before we get started, I did want to welcome everyone to this new way of doing things. We thought that it would be a good idea to try this. That way more people can watch, and the technology automatically records everything. So bear with us. This is our first time. We might hit a few bumps in the road, but we will get it right. All right. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And I have got that here. Ms. Gardner or Ms. Hammond, can you tell me if you can see this on my screen?
I don't.
No?
Oh, now
Okay.
see it. Now see
You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. Scroll it a little bit.
Okay, and I sent this to you all, okay? So,
I see it.
okay. And I know that Ms. Gardner, I believe you were there, right? You just weren't there at the very beginning, so that's why you're not at the very top of it. But I did email this to you all, and I just need a motion. And Ms. Hammond, I don't believe you were there for that meeting, correct? Okay, so Ms. Hammond and Ms. Gardner, you want to make a motion?
Sure. I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the, I don't remember the date, sorry, of the March procurement meeting.
It was February 2nd, actually.
Oh, February 2nd. We didn't do it in March.
That's right. I second. All in favor?
I'll abstain.
Oh, perfect. Okay, and then Ms. Hammond, not to let you out of the process, we're going to let you do the agenda. So let me pull that up. This technology is hold on a second. Let me get on our agenda.
I do. I make a motion that we approve the agenda. It's seen on
Ms. Gardner.
2022.
Ms. Gardner?
I second that.
Okay, all in favor? All right. Dr. Ross, can you hear us? Okay, I don't know if you can hear us. I just was going to ask, at one point we had a potential review of a banking RFP, and we didn't have an attachment for that. So unless Dr. Ross has something he wants us to review there, I think we'll skip that.
No, and we have awarded that RFP, if that's the banking services, to Truist. So we had that as information on the last board meeting.
That's what I thought. Okay, I'm going to move that we table that, which means we do away with it. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Hammond, all in favor? Okay, very good. All right. The next is this possible certification, and let me pull that up and show that to you. Give me just a second. And what this is okay. So as you guys probably know, we have a detailed procurement audit underway. And now that it's JAG, and I will probably butcher their name, Jaramillo Accounting Group, since they're undergoing that audit right now, and we hadn't had a meeting for a couple months, I emailed or called her actually, I think, and said, is there anything that you would recommend that our procurement committee discuss as potential things we should consider at this point? And I'm sure she may have some other recommendations for us when they're done with their audit. But one of the things that she recommended, and they are headquartered in New Mexico, so obviously this would need to be changed if we decide we wanted to adopt something like this. But one of her recommendations was a certification form that any vendor that wanted to do business with you, and you could put a dollar amount on this, they would just complete this form as part of their RFP or application or whatever process they have to go through based on the type of contract. But they're basically letting you know that they're not a former state employee or legislator or family member. Our law is a little bit different than this. If we did want to adopt this, obviously we would change it to our law, but we do have similar laws that are designed to prevent us doing business with someone that would have undue influence. So that's the purpose of this. So this committee cannot make any decisions, but we can make recommendations. So I thought I'd put it out there to see if you guys wanted to make a recommendation on this. It could be put in place in policy, or the other option is just in the procurement manual, not the code. We've already approved the actual code, but we could recommend that this go into the procurement manual if we wanted to.
Kathy,
Yes, ma'am.
what's the difference? Is the manual just a process that you look, I mean, the purpose of the manual?
Yes, ma'am. The code is really the state's code, which we adopted. The manual really says this is the process, and you get more into the details, kind of like with our policies. Some of the policies have an R attached to them, which are more procedural in nature. So we can't, well, theoretically we could change the code, but it would be very difficult and time consuming. So if we wanted to recommend this, I would say either.
I lost her. Lost her.
Well, if I may, I think I would like to know what Dr. Ross thinks about this, but I think this might be something specifically for the procurement manual, because this is very specific for policy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've added to a new process this year on the administrative side of making sure that we had a form for all of our vendors, specifically when we do consulting work. We did not have a form, on file about what their terms were, what their rates were. So one of the things I think we could do is maybe provide that form and this form together, so that we can not create a new one, but when that agency comes on, that way we could add this information about any conflicts or that contractor would have. So I will share that with this committee, that form that we have, and then if your review feels like we would do this, we'll just add it to our process. And that way, there are certain things that we talked about, Ms. Huddle, too, that don't go through the procurement process, but we still want to make sure. So if it's under $50,000, so we're doing a $25,000 group or sole source or something that may not rise to the level of the board, I think the board would be informed that we still have these processes in place, so that it didn't matter what the dollar amount was, we made sure that these steps were guided through. So I'll have that provided.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Anybody have any other questions or suggestions?
That's good.
Okay. This is another form that she suggested, and this one, Dr. Ross, you guys might want to consider in the same light. Let me see if I can make this just a little bit bigger. Okay. So what this is really specific to RFP. So it's not just any contract, and it even has a threshold in here. But the idea here is that the vendor is basically disclosing whether or not they've made campaign contributions to anyone who would make a decision on this contract. So that could, naturally, it's most likely to be board members. And I think the reason that this was suggested is, in my perception, is that South Carolina's laws on this are a little confusing as to timing, when you can contribute versus when a board member may vote and that kind of thing. So this might be a good idea just to really take any judgment out of it, and let's just have the facts. And I think they go back for a 2-year period. So the form says, have you contributed more than $250 over the prior 2 years, and if so, to who? And then it also says that it tells them that during the prospective period, this prospective contractor, that you cannot give donations during that time to anyone that would be voting on that contract. And that's actually mirrors South Carolina law as well. Any questions or suggestions about this? Like it, don't like it, whatever.
Kathy, that's just sort of on top of what the Ethics Commission already has in place, right? This is just for us, correct?
Yeah, this is just for, so the Ethics Commission already, has their rules, but I mean, I'm just gonna be blunt. I'm pretty sure we've had some situations where probably unknowingly some board members took contributions and didn't really realize, because it is confusing. And so it doesn't take away the responsibility of board members to be on top of the law, but at the
Right.
same time, it does put the onus back on the vendor, so that the vendor is very open with, and our purchasing department will know that yes, they've contributed, because it doesn't mean that they still can't participate. It just may mean that now a flag goes up that says, okay, well, we know they gave to Joe Smith. So Joe Smith can't be on a review panel, and Joe Smith can't vote to award them. They have to recuse themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So does this form specifically would state, I haven't read the whole thing, that they would, that the person that we would actually ask them to recuse, like they would have to remove themselves from the selection committee. This is not a sign it and we know about it, well, we're going to let you do it anyway type thing.
Well, it actually, and if we adopt this, we could add something to this. It doesn't, this is a form that is completed by the vendor. So it doesn't really say what we're going to do with it, but if it's put into something like the procurement manual, that, Ms. Gardner, could be a piece of the process is, okay, well, if a vendor says that they've donated to you, for example, that you would be notified and you would not be asked to serve on a selection committee. And if a vote came up, just to try to protect both the district and you. So that could be part of the process. But right now it's not, it's just a form.
Good.
Do you guys, I mean, do you think something like this would be beneficial? I'm not one for putting in place people to jump through, make more difficult if they're not necessary. So, and again, we're not making decisions here, but feedback as far as if you guys think it's a good idea or not a good idea.
I personally think it's a good idea, just because it does remind everybody what the law is, or that we're trying to stay within the bounds of the law. So, because I might, as a new board member, not really fully understand that, or, well, and I guess I have one more question, because it does specifically state that a business or someone who is a key stakeholder in the business, even as an individual, like it lists for both of those people to list. It's not just, oh, I didn't do this, I own this company, but I did it in my own name, not in the company name. It still has a place for that, right?
Right, it does. It has family member
Oh,
up
okay.
here. So it does. And if we decide we want to adopt this, we should have probably Ms. White or somebody look at it in comparison to South Carolina law, just to make sure that it's consistent, right? Because it may be different. South Carolina's definition of a family member, for example, could be different. Okay, Ms. Hammond, any ideas on this?
No, I think it's just makes it more clear, because, and I can see how the public might appreciate it, in the sense that we have a process where you couldn't say, well, I didn't know it. I didn't realize I couldn't do that. And because, as you said, we've had this happen. So this may be a good way to help board members, like Ms. Garner said, a brand new board member, that it's a lot to learn real fast. And when you're running a campaign, and people are giving you money, I think one of the biggest things generically, not just District 5, I think that's something that is looked at very closely by the public. If you're given so much contributions, and yet you're going to be in a position to give millions of dollars awarded to some you know, in a contract. So to me, it maybe is in a way protects a board member that we have this in place.
And I think the district, because it's not, if you do have two contractors competing and one has given donations and gets the contract award, they may appeal it, you know, and they may have a basis to it if people voted on that contract. You know, like you said, they may not have meant to, they didn't realize they had these donations because
Right.
they had lots of them in a year or two ago.
This just makes
okay.
it very clear, I think. It's like you said, it's not negating anything that's already put in place by the Ethics Commission, but it really gives you a second look at what we as a district deem, you know, proper and what we don't deem proper.
Well, and
Okay.
I have another question.
Sure, go ahead.
Sorry, I haven't actually been able to read the whole form. Does this form include, you said it includes family members, but what if, is this form going to be based on, like, each vendor will have this form, or each member of, say, a vendor, like the vendor might have, you know, directors and principals and, you know, presidents and lead this and lead that. Does everyone have to fill out one individually, or is it based on, is it just basically saying that we know, you know what I'm trying to ask?
That's a good question. It's actually per vendor, and it does say right here that a family member or representative of the prospective contractor. So you know, if Joe Smith owns ABC Consulting and his wife Jan Jones gives money, then she would be considered. Now, one of the things I did look at with this is, does it need to be limited to like officers of that company, shareholders of that company, that kind of thing? Because you could get into a situation with some large companies that individuals who happen to work there, you know, so it probably needs to say shareholder, owner, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dr. Ross, do you want to just turn this over to your procurement team to also look at this with the changes that you were talking about?
Yeah, I think this is another example, one of those things that we can actually add to and look at merging with our current plan. I think
Right.
too, input from our attorney just with the new procurement policy. And I think this is a good time because we just adopted the new one, and now we want to make sure that all our forms and processes are aligned to this. I think having a very formal, and even in the members who are on the selection committee, making sure that they have something that identifies whether they have a conflict or whatever. And I think that, so it can go both ways, towards the vendor and towards those being selecting those services.
Good point. Okay. All right.
Good
So
job.
that was, go ahead, Ms. Hammond.
I just said, good job, Kathy. Good job.
Well, you know, I just asked a question. Sometimes that's all you have to do is say, what should we consider? The next thing that has come up recently is I got made aware of I know we deferred, let me backtrack for just a minute. On our last agenda for last Monday, we had a policy that FGG that we deferred. So I'm just going to bring that up real quick. That was in the board packet for last Monday. So it's taken a second. My computer's thinking. Okay. So hopefully this rings a bell. Okay, make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And so this policy was to establish a structure for change orders and contingency allowances. So overall, the policy, I'm paraphrasing here, and Ms. Gardner, it's your policy, so feel free to add, but was basically just to make sure that any major change orders are documented, and if they exceed a certain threshold, they're brought to the board's attention. The same thing with contingencies, because a contingency often reverts back to the district if it's not used. So let's say we have a contingency of $1 million in a construction contract. You wouldn't want the construction company or the architect using a big chunk of that without some type of good approval process, because otherwise the $1 million that you thought was coming back to the district would go away without a process of everybody being informed. So that was kind of the purpose of that. Ms. Gardner, anything to add to that? Is that a no?
No, I don't have anything to add, but I noticed, I think we're definitely going to be bringing this policy back to the next meeting with the changes that we got from the lawyer that looked at it, Mr. Reiser. And so I've been kind of looking at the things that he wanted to change, and I haven't seen anything major in it, but I haven't studied it. So, but yeah, I like what we're doing in this policy. So I want to make sure it's what's good for the district and that it jives with all the laws and everything that we need to do, or follow. Sorry.
And so he's reviewing that and supplying some suggestions, right?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
he's already supplied them. We actually have them. We just got to get them into the policy to come before the board at the next meeting.
Okay. Well, the thing that in this process, this is a process that I came across after the 2008 bond referendum. This process was supposed to be in place, but it's not in policy. It's not, attached to a policy. But what I'll do is send that along to you, and maybe consider it for parts of it. It's actually, if you read it, it's a combination policy and procedure. But once we get FGG in place, I thought the procedure parts might need to become part of an FGGR. Because this part's all and there's policy, so part gets down to policy, so the policy, it gets down into actual procedures here. So through that, and Ms. Gardner, if you want to look at it and there's the FPG, just if there's anything jumps out at you that you might want to change, you could. Or even had discussion first reading yet, right?
Sorry, Kathy, you're kind of breaking up, so I'm not sure if you asked the question, but yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yes. But yeah, this is coming at the next meeting, and we have an opportunity to change some things if there's anything specific that we feel needs to be changed.
I'm going to turn my webcam off. Using it better. Okay. Not better?
We hear you better. There's no choppiness, but I hate that it's the webcam. We want to see you too.
Yeah. Well, so can you repeat, unfortunately, the last maybe 20 seconds of what you said?
I was just going to say, do you want to look at it in case there's anything that jumps at you that you would recommend before the first reading of FGG? No.
Looks good to me.
So just because like I said, I'm not sure if I'm following you, what you have up from your shared screen is something that you suggest for FGG, like the administrative rule, not the actual policy.
I'm not really suggesting it. I just wanted to make everyone aware of it. I was not aware that this procedure even existed. I don't know if it's even being followed. I thought you might want to look at it to see, is there anything in it that you would want to put in FGG? Would you want to take the procedural part of it and create an FGGR?
So I'm in favor of the latter, right? I think taking the feedback that Attorney Reiser gave to Ms. Gardner's committee as the policy, and that could stand alone and then taking that document and rolling it back into a GGGR that we would handle on this side. It wouldn't need a board
Okay.
approval, but we would bring it as an information item either back to this committee or the full the board to just let know. And that way we have flexibility to pivot. We can change a form or whatever need to be. But I think allowing us to create the GGGR with forms like this gives us a little bit more time to get it right.
Agree. Okay. Might be some in there. And I didn't know if it was already being followed anyway. So we'll do that. And that was all I had on the today. And since we're headed into summer vacation, all of that, and spring break to do after the audit, skip next week. So I thought, and me to get until right with you, not against everyone. Not meeting till June 1st.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Am I freezing?
Yeah.
That works with us.
A little
I think
bit, but I think
you
we
said June. We heard June.
We heard June.
Okay. Do you know anything that you want the
Well, I think one of the things
committee
that
to do in June at this time?
well, I think at this time, I think we would have, if we look at our timeline here, April there's only one meeting. So in May, either the first or the second meeting in May, we get our, let's just say at the earliest in May, the May 9th meeting, we get the audit back. And so that would allow maybe 2 meetings to review that. And then that way in June, when this committee meets, it has that information to either upgrade policies or procedures. And that would give us plenty of time to digest the audit and then use this committee's June meeting to make recommendations to the full board.
Right, bye. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So June sounds good. We'll have some items. Ms. Hammond or Ms. Gardner, anything else that you know of?
I think that's good.
Nope, I think that we'll
Okay,
be,
Ms. Gardner?
like I said, yeah, probably discussing whatever the full audit brings to us is probably a good, I'm sure we'll have a full agenda for that.
Ms. Huddle, talking about the audit, are we anticipating that we won't get that back till June? Because I know that you had a conversation with her for us of what she had to wonder if there would be any kind of preliminary, like a partial report, or do we as a procurement committee think it's better to wait till she has her entire report ready?
Can you guys hear me okay?
It's still a little choppy there, but the question was about, or I guess you heard the question, it's just the response that's getting choppy.
Did
I
she
might
hear
know the answer to that.
Want to give it to?
We were told that it's possible that we could have it by maybe the first or second meeting in May, but there's no promises on that. So that's what we're hoping.
Okay, but she was aware of that, and if we do, we would have it. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. That was my question.
Well, and I think that's everything. I'm kind of taking over because I'm not sure if Kathy is just not able to speak.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, you're back. There you are. You're on the phone.
Yeah, I did the phone option. So sorry about, like we said, we're trying something new.
That's right. It's going well.
Yeah. We're feeling the pain of all the teachers back when we were doing virtual, aren't we?
That's right. In the students.
And their students and parents.
Yeah. That's
My
right.
understanding is that the audit's supposed to be wrapped up in May, but they're looking to have at least a preliminary report by the May 9th meeting. So
Okay.
if that happens, then we should have some items and we can meet on June 1st. If that doesn't happen, then, we could either meet later in June or we could just defer until July.
Okay. Good.
All right.
That was my question. Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
Anything else, Dr. Ross?
I think we await that, and if something comes up, we will notify the committee. And I think our work now is getting the rules evaluated for FGG, for the procurement policy, procurement process, both on the vendor side and the committee side, and then making sure our attorney reviews the documents here, to make sure that our vendor forms are inclusive of what our auditor has shared with us.
Okay. So we are going to leave all that with you. We didn't mean to give you homework. I'm sorry for that.
That's all right. That's all right. It makes us better.
Especially when the school day is over, right? All right. Ms. Gardner or Ms. Hammond, y'all have anything else?
Oh, that was good.
I just
All right.
moved
So
that
we will
adjourn.
plan on June 1st, and we'll change that if we need to. And we don't
Okay.
have Mr. Hogan with us to adjourn us, but anybody want to take a shot?
Started it. I saw her hand
Yeah.
up.
Sorry,
He
I was
did?
talking over
Okay,
you.
we got
Yeah.
a second.
I'm seconding.
All right. All in favor, all three of us. My hand is raised.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you
Raised
all.
at the
We
same
appreciate
time.
it.
Bye.
Kathy,
All right. Bye-bye.
Vicki, and Dr. Ross. Okay.
Bye. Thanks, Dr. Ross.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy your
Click,
spring break.
click,
You
click.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.